Yo, what is good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We have to talk what is going on in the crypto world because Ethereum is on an absolute tear right now. The price has been exploding, and if you're holding Ethereum, you have had a very good week. And another stock, if you guys are into stocks, because I know a lot of you guys come here for stocks. I personally trade options. ETHA is a great one to watch, especially if you guys want to get some of those option plays. They are a little bit more expensive than when we first started looking at them, but they're still relatively moving pretty decently. And if we look at, how it's moving, it makes big jumps to the upside. And honestly, a lot of upside momentum with this one. Ethereum is one to watch, and we're going to be talking a little bit about it. And then we'll get to the overall stock market, some news, everything that is moving the market, and kind of talk more about the SPY of why it kind of dropped yesterday. And honestly, man, we're making a little bit of a rally back up to all-time highs. So let's get started. You guys don't want to miss anything in this video. So what's behind this massive pump? Well, there are a couple of huge factors at play. First off, the big one, we're seeing massive wave of institutional money flowing in. The recently approved Ethereum spot ETFs have officially gone live and are sucking up ETH from the market faster than it's being created. Big time firms are buying in, which is sending huge signal of confidence to the entire market overall. If you look at Bitcoin's movements, it's not really moving as good as Ethereum, and even XRP is moving a little bit better than Bitcoin overall. But people are saying that Ethereum has way more uses than Bitcoin in general, and people are selling out of their Bitcoins and buying into Ethereum. On top of that, there's a lot of positive buzz around the upcoming Prog and Electra. I don't know if I said that right. Network upgrade. This upgrade is expected to make the network even more efficient and scalable. And developers are getting really hype about the new features. It's basically a major tech boost that's attracting more projects and users to the Ethereum ecosystem. So if you got Wall Street's money pouring in on one side and game-changing tech improvements on the other, it's a perfect storm for a price surge. But with that being said, man, I think Ethereum is still a good buy, and you should have this in your portfolio overall. You can wait for one of those minor dips, maybe back down to the 3.5 level and or a greater sell-off in general, but we're getting a lot of good market certainty. I mean, if you see stocks at all-time highs and crypto at all-time highs, that looks pretty good. But now let's talk about some earnings, what is going on, and what to expect for the rest of the week. We do got some big data coming out. Fed chair comes out. We have a Fed rate decision. We have a lot coming out this week and some trade news. EU and the US are trying to speed it up so that we can potentially get a deal before that August 1st deadline. We also have the August 1st deadline too that can truly move markets. But with that being said, man, this is the biggest weeks of earnings seasons. We see that this week we have 38% of the S&P 500 Q2 earnings. And honestly, this can move the S&P 500 in general. If we get some good earnings coming out, good numbers, stocks spiking, we can see the S&P 500 spike. But if we get some bad earnings, we can also see the opposite. With that being said, man, we do have UNH, United Health. A lot of people knows about United Health, and honestly has been in a downward trend. But this might be able to, maybe turn the company around. And or if it does sell off, it gives us a good buy target because this is a stock that honestly, at its current value, is good to hold for the long term. If you guys have a long-term account, 5 to 10 years, which I recommend having, you never know when you'll need it. Even if you put $50 a month, that's still pretty good. You guys can load up to United Health. And honestly, man, we're in that seasonality where, stocks like this does kind of go to the downside and then it kind of rallies up in a couple of months. So keep that in mind overall, but this is a good time to get into United Health, especially if we don't beat earnings and then it goes to the downside a little bit more. We do have SoFi, PayPal, Boeing. I'm kind of pumped to see how Boeing moves because we have been getting a lot of sales and a lot of price movement to the upside with Boeing. UPS, Spotify, P&G, everybody knows about these, but that is before open on today, the 29th. With that being said, after close, we do have Visa, Starbucks, and that's kind of what I'm pumped up about. Wednesday, we have, Meta, Microsoft, Robinhood. We're kicking it off with some bigger stocks. So these ones can be moving a pretty decent amount. I'm pumped about Robinhood because honestly, bro, I'm up almost 120% on my Robinhood holding on my long term. And also Ford. I'm not invested in Ford, but you might be able to get a good buy target with Ford overall, and maybe they can show if tariffs are affecting them yet. But also on Thursday, Apple, Amazon, Coinbase, Reddit. We might get some more crypto news. Coinbase can potentially move MSTR. Last time Coinbase reported, we seen a big move. But with that all being said, man, be very pumped for this earnings overall, and I'm very pumped as well. it can truly move, make some big moves, bring some volatility into the market. And finally, for those day traders out there, swing traders, you can finally get some decent plays. But with that being said, man, opening up on Monday, man, we did break some all-time highs with SPY, but sooner or later we gave that all back and some more. We are opening up higher than open yesterday. And honestly, man, maybe we can go to the upside finally, see some upside momentum. With that being said, man, some of the plays that we had lined up yesterday was indeed Apple. And honestly, man, I'm not even going to lie. I did have a buy target at around that 213.5. It was about to fill. And honestly, if it would have filled, I would have made a decent amount of money to the upside. But this one did not succeed yesterday. So now, since we have new lows for yesterday, I might put my buy target at that 213, the original one that I originally had. So I'm going to be watching that 213 to that 212.5 for a buy target for the Apple overall. We are kind of looking like we are going down a little bit. So keep that in mind overall. So for this one, I'm going to have a little bit more patience with this play. Might be looking at that 212.5, maybe even 212 flat for a call option, just to be a little bit more patient with this one in case we do fall down a little bit more. Maybe it can open up at like that 213.5 if we do buy at 212.5. So you can still make some decent money as long as you just have a little bit more patience. First link in the description below, I have a bunch of courses to help you guys become more profitable. I have a long term that gives you guys 40 free stocks to outperform the S&P 500, especially in this time. And I also have, how to read charts, basic beginner things for trading overall, and how to make money off of $0 on your computer. So go check out these courses with that code down below. You guys can get 50% off, and the courses are already relatively cheap. So it is time to talk about the stock market calendar overall. As you guys know, we had nothing scheduled for yesterday, but we did have Donald Trump coming out, stuff like that, some trade talks, but nothing really too major. But with that being said, Tuesday, today, we do have, advanced trade, retail inventories, wholesale inventories. We got the price index, consumer confidence might move the market 30 minutes after, also job openings as well. And on Wednesday, we got to talk about Wednesday a little bit more because we do have Fed chair coming out and the interest rate decision. And honestly, man, if we go to our chart real quick, we have around a 62 to 61. I think it's 61 now, 61.7% chance of a cut in September meeting. And this upcoming meeting can change that chance with what Jerome comes out to say. So it can either go up or down for that Fed rate cut. Just depends on if he's dovish or dovish. But with that being said, there is a 97.4% chance that we are just going to stay paused for this meeting. And honestly, man, I think we're just going to stay paused with this high chance. But that we see rates stay the same in this upcoming meeting. People are watching what he says mainly. So keep that on your mind. Because honestly, man, if you guys are watching this and he honestly, hints towards, rate cuts a little bit faster, and or somehow we get a surprise rate cut, which is insane, that would honestly surprise everybody. But honestly, I don't think he's going to cut rates this one, but it's just really determining on what he says that can really move the market overall. Another key event that is going to move the market that honestly isn't on the stock market calendar, and I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is the August 1st tariff deadline. We already see some good deals coming and already got the main trading partners kind of out of the way with the EU 15% tariff, but they are still in works with that one. Japan was kind of the same with the deals. They're basically just given a lower tariff and the other country is investing heavily into the US. Also, a potential China and US 90-day extension, which can look good for the overall markets, especially China stocks. We've seen BABA making some good movements recently. But we do know that tariff and trade news does move the market to anything that can happen during this deadline. So honestly, that's one thing I'm going to have on my radar because honestly, man, if this deadline hits and, the tariffs are higher than we expect, you might see the markets drop. And or if he extends this tariff pause, which we might see because he's already trying to extend it for China. So with that being said, if we do get another pause, man, we're just going to see markets go up and then we're just going to keep on repeating the same thing over and over again. But honestly, man, this market is good. Even if you play it both ways, you can play calls and puts. Just take your time when you do. The SPY didn't really look too good for a call option today unless you played basically over the weekend. But with that all being said, man, even if you seen this low right here, finally bought your call option for the next day, you can make a decent amount of money. Normally call options is good for swing trades and then maybe put options and or the opposite sometimes as we've seen on Friday. But with that all being said, man, Google was one play that we did indeed make. And it is already doing pretty good, but it's not moving that good. Like I said in yesterday's video, Google is going to be a little bit slower. If you do want to trade Google, get 3 to 4 weeks out just so your premium doesn't get shot up. but we did indeed. I got in a little bit earlier, but I got in at 192.65. So honestly, man, I might just sell this one tomorrow or today and basically just take whatever gains I have. It might not be that much, but if we can open up a little bit more green, we can look a little bit better for this trade overall. But with that being said, man, Google is just a slower trade, but I just like the way Google looked. And I feel like that, even if I want to hold this one for another week, if the market does look good overall, we could probably try to retest that 199 to that 200 level and even that 196 level in the future. But honestly, Google just has been moving pretty slow. It's not really a good trade to really, really watch unless you get some good news, but it's just one of those that I'm willing to hold for, maybe a week or so just to see if we can get some plays out of this. Didn't really risk too much money, so I'm not really too mad about this one, but this is just one that I scoped out towards the bottom. I was about to get into the Apple one, which probably would have been a little bit better, especially down here. But honestly, man, I already got into that Google one and I was like, I'm done trading for the day because markets kind of moved a little bit slower, but not really. If you looked at key stocks like Apple, I think Nvidia moved pretty decently yesterday too, but it was kind of slow as you guys can see. But like now we're testing that 180 for Nvidia, which is insane. So if you got that call option, man, you're making a lot of money. So we got a few more news and then we'll get to some supports and resistance and some of the plays. So first off, Apple is set to close one of its retail stores in China for the first time. The store, located in Mall in Dalian, will shut down on August 9th. Apple's official reason for the closure is the changing environment of the shopping mall, as many other retailers have also decided to leave the complex. While this is a first for Apple in China, the company is still opening new stores in other Chinese cities and expanding globally overall. The move is seen as a strategic adjustment rather than a full retreat from the Chinese market, where the company is working to boost its sales. With that being said, man, this isn't really bad news. It's mainly like a lot of other people are moving from that mall. But honestly, man, if we see a trend of this, we might see Apple getting out of China, which isn't really too good. But I don't think this is too big. I just wanted to mention this one. Also, Boeing, man, we got Q2 earnings preview. Boeing is showing strong signals of a turnaround under CEO Kelly, who has brought in to stabilize the company after a series of crises. The company stock soared over 30% this year and is expected to report significantly reduced losses in its upcoming Q2 earnings report. This positive momentum is driven by increased aircraft deliveries, cost-cutting measures, and a major new labor agreement, while still facing challenges, including ongoing FAA scrutiny and potential labor agreement disputes at some facilities. Investors are regaining confidence in Boeing's future. The company is also looking to the future with projects like the X-37B space plane, which is insane, which is set for its 8th mission. Spotify is also heading into its earnings report with a lot of positive buzz from investors, but the company's own guidance has been a bit more cautious. The stock has been performing well this year, but analysts are still a little hesitant due to the company's high valuation. While Spotify is expected to show significant growth in both revenue and earnings per share and has been successful in converting free users to paid subscribers, there are some concerns. The company missed earnings per share estimates last quarter, and some analysts has recently lowered their expectations. It seems like Spotify is in a price for perfection scenario where any disappointment could hit the stock hard overall. And if it does get hit hard, honestly, man, this is a time to invest in for your long term. I'm going to promote long term forever, honestly, man. This is the best thing that you can do. And back to some trade talk. The European Union and the United States has been in a rush to finalize trade agreements to avoid imposition of heavy tariffs by the U.S. The situation has been tense, with the U.S. threatening tariffs of up to 30% on a wide range of EU goods. A recent breakthrough came through with a deal announced at Trump's golf resort in Scotland. As we've seen before, the agreement sets a 15% tariff on many US or EU exports to the US, and in return, the EU has committed a significant investment in the US economy and purchase of American energy. While this deal averts a full-blown trade war, it has been met with mixed reactions overall. Some see it as a necessary compromise, while others are critical of the terms and potential long-term impacts on the trade relations in general. So we are getting a lot of trade things, trade talk, stuff like that. But with that being said, let's get to some supports and resistances of plays to watch. So we just had the NVIDIA chart up. Now we're looking at AMD. AMD isn't really as high as NVIDIA, but yesterday, I'm not even going to lie, Nvidia or AMD did pretty good at market open and was boosting up a decent amount, stuck in a range that started going up once again towards the end of the day. For AMD, I'm personally going to be watching that 172.5 level to buy into a play just because, man, this looks like a good level, but honestly, just going to have my patience. I'm not going to buy it. Like if market opens and it gets all the way down here, that's not a good buy zone unless I'm trying to day trade, of course. But I'm going to have my patience with this one. This one's going to be the first buy zone. Second buy zone is going to be below that 170 all the way down to like that 168.5. But I don't think we'll get there, but we might. You never know how the market's going to look. But that is what I'm going to be looking at. But some supports and resistance. So first off, let's go to the upside. If we do start going to the upside a little bit more, look at that 176.5, 177.5, and finally that 180 level. To the downside, look at that 175, 173.5, and that 172.5 to the downside for AMD in general. Boeing, we do have earnings, so keep in mind that, this can affect the premiums. So if you guys do want to play earnings, good luck. But with that being said, man, I'm not really going to have a buy zone. I'm not really trying to buy this one, but to the upside, look at that 238, 240, 245, and 250. To the downside, look at 235.5, 234, and then that 230 level flat, especially if we make or break. So if we beat earnings, we might be able to break that 240. If we don't, we might get down to the downside a little bit more, maybe 235 to that 230. SPY in general, man, I haven't really been trading SPY. Honestly, it's been moving kind of weird, but you can get some decent plays out of SPY in general. With that being said, to the downside, look at that 638, 637.5, and then that 635 level all the way down. And honestly, man, just have your patience with SPY. To the upside, look at that 639, 640. If we could break past that 640, that's gonna be some new highs. 641.5, 642, and then that's 645. Yeah, 645. Next is going to be NVIDIA. This one made a big break to the upside. A buy zone that I'm going to be watching is going to be that 176.5 level, and maybe all the way down if we do fall down 174 to that 175 level. But with that being said, to the upside, look at that 180. If we could break past that 180, 181.5, 183.5, and that 185 level next. If we do start breaking down, look at that 178.5, 177, and that 175 level. For Apple, man, honestly, man, it is still in this range that we've been talking about, that 215.5 to that 213 level. So honestly, man, I'm having my patience to see if we can break above this and or break below this, and then we might continue that movement. Maybe earnings can really determine if we're going to break up or down. So keep that in mind overall, but some supports and resistance. Look at that 215, 215.5, 216, and that 217.5 to that 220. To the downside, look at that 213, 212.5, 211.5, and then that 210 level to the downside for Apple. Please have your patience with that one. Tesla had some decent movement as well yesterday, just like AMD, moving to the upside, made a lot of people some more money. So the next level that I'm really watching is going to be that 230 to that 235 level. I think we can get up there and then maybe consolidate a little bit, maybe have a little bit of a pullback and then come back, maybe go back some highs, break some highs for the week, basically. With that being said, watch those levels to the upside. To the downside, look at that 324.5, 320, and that 315 level to the downside for Tesla in general. With that all being said, though, man, good luck trading. Comment down below any questions that you may have. Smash that sub button, man. We're so close to 500 subs. And check out those courses. First link in the description below. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.